ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday. We are Debate Sensei. We have the Ron Burgundy of speech and debate, Tim Seavey.
God, that is sticking. We're making that stick. I don't care if everyone else hates it. I'm making that stick.
All right, and then we got Matt Shapiro, Esquire.
Sounds sticky, Tim.
I am your debate coach, professor of communications. I am also an ordained minister. You take a look at that. So, or a one.
Jared's married people before.
Church of the Dude, yes?
Yes, dudism. So it's
Deuteronomy.
It's known by many names. It is the Church of Latter-day Dude, or Dudism. Yes, I can. And that was back in 2008. You can see.
Yeah, if you mess around and get drunk with Jared, he can marry you.
Yeah.
So watch out.
I can marry and bury, baby. I have to
marry and bury. Oh man.
So, anyways, we're doing topic selection. It's one of my faves. All right.
Where these topics come from?
We got the
Germany
warm-up topics from El Camino College. Was it just last weekend, huh?
Hey, we have a former Elco student appearing live now, actually.
Yeah, that's my former alma mater. So
I thought you went to Long Beach City.
I went to Long Beach State out of El Camino. I'm from El Camino.
Get your facts straight, Sticky Tim.
Yeah.
All right.
Long Beach City needs to get a program.
They had one, right?
Man, they had one. Well, they had like one debater, and that was like freaking 15 years ago, I think. But they haven't had anything forever.
If only there existed a forensics program in a box.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
If only a company would take the time to just help institutions who need help setting up programs. Would just
I'm not afraid to say we are finally ready. We got ourselves a forensics course in a box. All right, like that. It's going to be.
What does that mean?
Yeah, so that means all the lessons, quizzes, and like box. Yeah. All right. So
basically, check out our website. Check out protocommunications.com.
Yeah,
go there. Click on the little button.
All right, so we got our 5 topics. How are we doing this, Jared? Am I officiating?
No, it's for me again. All right, I think we're kind of getting locked into these roles for a little bit here.
Ooh,
yeah.
All right, huge fan of roles.
So, what is it? Heads your aff, tails your neg, huh? How about that?
Great.
All right, here we go. All right, your aff. Right. Sweetness.
I hate the affirmative side on these topics. That's good though.
You hate them on these topics? Oh,
I prefer the neg because I like basically every topic on the neg for this round, but that is all right. The affirmative has some good stuff too.
Okay.
That's the first lesson of debate. Sometimes you don't get the side you want. Good luck, Tim.
Okay, so I have to get myself oriented on the neg. I'm looking at these topics.
What topics are you looking at?
Well, you'll see them as they come. Okay. Oh man, I could be neg on all of these. I see what you mean. I can see what you mean.
Yeah, they're all pretty solid for the negative.
Oh, we have a bias framer. That's interesting.
Okay, I think you might hate me for this one, but I'm getting rid of this one.
No, that's the best topic. The U.S. Constitution has outlived its usefulness.
Yeah, so here's my reasoning behind this one is that on the neg, like it's too unpredictable. You have nearly 30 amendments to choose from, plus all of the stuff in the document proper, and I just think it's too unpredictable on the neg. Like you just have so much ammunition on the aff. It's not that it's a bad topic. Is if there was a specific sort of amendment that they were proposing, then I'd be able to. Otherwise, I have to say no. The Constitution has not outlived its usefulness. That everything about it, because it's too easy, I think, on the affirmative to say that it's outlived its usefulness. So we're going to make this amendment, or we have a new, they could target things. They could just target it. And
but I mean, go ahead, Tim.
I actually think you're probably going where I'm going. So you get there.
Well, no, I mean, last week we spent a lot of time talking about nuance and kind of carving out the ground you want. On the AF, Jared, you're saying on the neg that it's beneficial. This is a good neg leaning resolution.
No, I think it's AF leaning in only because the AF can just blindside me with how
a single amendment or something.
Yeah. So that's what I'm worried about.
I mean, okay, yeah. On the neg, I would definitely say there's a lot of ground. I mean, the U.S. Constitution is. You could point to all the things that the United States has done in the name of the Constitution, which is bad. Yes, but there, I think, is still a very ideological basis to say it's good, and it's led to a lot of good things. And
that's I think you have to take the big picture on the neg.
Yeah, globally,
overall, having the Constitution is better than not having the Constitution, right? Because then, there's at least this one thing that kind of every political body can agree on. It's like a set of rules that we follow or can change, but it is intentionally difficult and slow to change, and kind of prevents this political power swaying with the winds of time. So we happen to be going through a period of this, and so therefore everything goes that way. There is some consistency and some historical value to something that is long-standing, like the Constitution. So I think the neg, but you're totally right though. The neg is definitely standing on some pretty weak sauce. Historically, this is why things are valuable, and that's the stuff that I
think I have two quick points on the neg. Just to say, one, the fact that we're even allowed to have this debate, whether or not it's useful, is only because of the Constitution itself, which I think is kind of an interesting thought to say. Bringing that into a round to say, there are countries, there are governments that you aren't allowed to question the institutions. So the fact that we can even have this debate is proof that it's not useless. And then two, just the Constitution is by design a changing document. So if it's useless, then the very nature of saying I can just propose an amendment to make it better, in my opinion, there's an argument there to say, well, then what you're saying is it's not useless because the very structure that it created to change it, you are using to make it better. So for those reasons, it's not useless. Jared, I'm sorry.
I think the affirmative side, it's pretty easy to start beating up on the number of appeal to tradition arguments that are backed by the Constitution said so, and you end up with all kinds of really historically oppressive things because it's an easy appeal to authority. As soon as people say the founding fathers intended, you already know it's going down a very bad path.
That's where it's
the founding fathers
isn't George Washington.
Is pretty old white rich racist white guy, right? Where that route is going, because those were who those people were. So I think anytime that someone is using that as their justification for an argument, that appeal to authority by nature is on some shaky ground, and you can start poking holes in it on the affirmative of here are all the ways the Constitution and it is difficult to change, and that has been a tool of oppression. It is an obstacle to progress. That's where I would probably go on the affirmative. So that was my number one in the affirmative. It's there's so many things that I would love to talk about here. I know.
But one last thing before we move on, but it says the U.S. Constitution. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I was on the affirmative, I say this text right here.
Yeah, not having a constitution, because lots of countries have free speech. France, I think, has a constitution, or however they pronounce it, and it allows them to speak freely about
constitution.
So I think that's actually it. Wow, that was flawless French there. So I think countries do have them, but the U.S. Constitution specifically, I think I would point to just all kinds of historical oppression that is held on, the basis of this is how it's been, and this is what the framers wanted, and this is what the Constitution says.
All right.
So you took my best one. All right. So the next that I would strike,
strategic.
I would strike the metaphor, which says, "Love means never having to say you're sorry."
All right.
That's not true. This is a fact debate, and that is not true. No.
Always having to say you're sorry.
Yeah, the other way exactly. That is the built-in definition. You are sorry from the beginning. I can say that now on legal authority. I think I hate I hate metaphor rounds. I don't like metaphor rounds, and I typically advise my students not to pick the metaphor because it is just such mushy ground. Like there's so little predictable, solid basis that you can argue on, and I think it ends up becoming like a war of competing examples that don't interact. And so I think they're difficult to judge. They're really fun, like drunken debates, right? Like you can just like take a metaphor and talk it through.
Coldplay is better than the Beatles, bro.
Right? Like, yeah, those are great, just like backyard debate topics. But I think when a round needs to be judged and there needs to be some like consistent criteria and clash and like refutation rejoinder, I don't think the metaphors really lend themselves to any of those things.
Now, just to give a little bit on the affirmative, never having to say you're sorry. I think there's a great discussion to say that instead of saying you're sorry, say thank you. And so, yeah, like, no, whenever
I was 3 hours late to your recital. Thank you.
Like, hey, I'm sorry I was late. Yeah, instead of saying I'm sorry I was late, it's like, hey, thanks for understanding. And it's a really cool communication sort of technique. And
learn all these techniques in Jared's book, How to Never Say Sorry, by Jared Kubica Miller.
Recently single, Jared Kubica Miller. Half the proceeds of this book are going to Tara Kubica Miller.
Did you say 50%?
Well, that's a fair point. That's funny.
No, like depends when the book was sold. Yeah. No, I think it's funny because a lot of the metaphor rounds when I was competing, if I could kind of hit it straight up, like you said, and kind of bring up examples about maybe even like a loving relationship or something like that, I would love to do that. But then normally also is sometimes I've noticed the metaphors kind of very obviously are hearkening to a specific thing, generally in like public news or in the circulating topic of the day. What's the hot topic? Not hot topic, but anyways, topic of the day, or something that's happened. When you can see like a very bright line between a metaphor and current event. That's what I was thinking of, and something that kind of just happened. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to kind of draw it even to a policy round if it's kind of directly on point with something that's kind of big in the news. Because I think that is an argument to say we're all predicting this, we see it, we both can see this. So although we can talk about the metaphor itself, this does lend itself to this policy which is happening right now or something like that. So
I do tell my IPDA debaters, because that's the cool thing about the strategy about the style of debate is to disclose that kind of thing. Like if you're going to pick the metaphor, tell your opponent where you're going with it. You're not trying to be squirrely and wild and like, I got him here. Yeah. Like that's not what IPDA is about, especially on a
no
metaphor.
Debate is like, about that. I mean, honestly,
and make it a good debate.
Yeah. Surprise is good. And an LD in a final goal round.
When you have the same topic all year long, like come up with the really squirrely, wild stuff and catch people off guard.
But predictability is really important in IPDA. And if you have some really fleshed out, specific policy argument, if it's not kind of current event understood, it's not abusive. It's just not as persuasive because, it's hard to combat in 15, 30 minutes of prep.
In all fairness, sometimes I don't know what I'm going to argue until I'm like 15 minutes in. It's like
you heard it here, folks.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know what I'm arguing until I'm already speaking.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm like, okay, where are they prepping? I'll go and tell them now.
Sometimes I just read the obituary in my 1 AC and then figure out what I'm going to say in my 2 AC. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So next one.
So you know what?
I like all 3 of the remaining ones on neg. Honestly, I do.
Okay.
Like honest. Yeah, and so I think I'm going to go with the ones I know I got some lit on. So I'm going to strike this one.
Yep, that was actually, I'm surprised to see you strike that. That was my second favorite on the neg.
I like it. I like
that topic just because, like, on the affirmative, I'm glad that you struck that because I would not want to debate that on the affirmative.
Yeah.
I think on the neg you can go all kinds of wild on, like, as soon as something is not discussed, people become more divisive. People become more ideological. People are less likely to vote smartly on it. Like, people become less informed on something. Like, debate is the exact time and place when people need to talk about controversial issues. And like, now it's rough. Like, this is 100% the thing. Like, ballot measures are coming up. People need to have informed rhetorical dialogue about this kind of stuff. and especially need to, like at a debate tournament, when you have to objectively analyze both sides and debate against the thing you believe in. Wonderful. Challenge beliefs, come up with the best version of thought process to really come to a sound conclusion. So I feel strongly about that one. So I never want to debate those topics because I don't think I do a good job of being objective and picking the best arguments.
Yeah.
So I would like to talk that on the negative, but I wouldn't want to have that round in general.
On the affirmative, I think I talk shit on debate tournaments about like, listen,
yeah,
people don't care what we are talking about. Like, like we are a community. We should be like acting like a community. All this does is cause divisiveness amongst us, you know. And it's like, it's not like our results are published or anyone cares about what those are. They like it doesn't matter. Like, and so all those sort of critiques about it's like how important this is and how it's gonna like this is gonna like cause some sort of catalyst and change the world. I'm like, no, it's not. It never has. It's like
this is useless as the U.S. Constitution, as in the article.
The only people that are getting this is us, and we can still come to these conclusions using our critical analysis. We don't have to like draw these like really, really sort of deep fundamental things into it. We like let's keep it an exercise and not a war. You know,
my thought on this, Jared, kind of piggybacking off of that. Like, I love this resolution because it almost does take you to arguing pros and cons about the debate tournaments themselves. Like we are talking about, you know, one of my criticisms personally is debate changes people's lives, but we need to like bring people in to the community. Okay. In order to change their lives, we have to bring them into the community. Okay. So when it becomes so patently against, say, an even issue like an abortion, where I think it's almost universal in round, I should say, how people feel like they should argue in a debate. The problem with that, what the part that throws me is it shuts off a huge swath of people who don't want to be associated with a bunch of left-wing libtards. Okay, and now I am not, you know, really anything like that on either side. But really, what I'm trying to say is my goal, you know, and I think debate's goal, in a weird way, is to bring people in to see both sides, to expose people to, you know, understanding how even argument works on the other side. I mean, just the concept of that is like eye-opening to people. So I guess what I'm saying is it would be inclusive to talk about these things in debate, in my mind, in certain ways, getting to areas and people where they may not normally do this activity because they feel like they can't voice their opinion against it. I realize that's very personal, but normally debate is just, you know, you're taking someone from a very personal feeling like that and getting them to a debater level where it's just, you put something in front of me, I learn the arguments and I say them. Like that is I like the inclusivity of it to get people to do that.
So, all right.
Yeah, so that one struck. All right, so that leaves me with I will strike, even though I really like this topic, I will strike cash bail.
Okay, yeah.
So this one is just you're on the wrong side of it on the affirmative. I think the only real so first off, zero cash bail is something specific. Those should probably actually even be capitalized. So zero cash bail is a policy that Los Angeles came up with as a way to combat prison overcrowding during COVID. And so the idea was that if someone is picked up for a petty crime and bail is placed, to assume that bail, like just if there is a bail set, they just get that bail. So they don't have to pay any money into it, but they are released and then just told that to come back for a court date. So it's as if they were to have posted bail.
You're on AF on this, right?
What's that?
You were supposed to be AF and you're striking.
So if I'm on the AF for this, I have to argue that is a bad thing, that it has done more harm than good. So it reduced prison overcrowding during COVID. It pointed out a super classist, like really
inequity,
crappy like policy that we have that specifically like
benefits rich people and
poor people to be to spend more time in prison than people with money to do it. So like it is a really good idea and it did good things. So LAPD ended it for some like very Blue Lives Mattery reasons. It was like they have a handful of examples, and you can go in this direction, but I think you're just going to get your legs kicked out from under you in a debate round. They have a few examples of like someone was picked up on a petty crime. They were released on the zero cash bail program, and they went back and committed another crime. Like, yep, that totally does.
I mean, yeah, it's like Ted Bundy. It's like you got him with a parking ticket. He's in your jail, and then you let him go because of zero cash bail, and he killed 5 people. Okay, so that's why cash bail is important.
Right.
Microcosm.
I think you can so easily go to the other side, like, yep, and just about anyone that has money can do that exact same thing.
That's an extreme.
Like, prove that they have money. So, like, great.
We only want rich people killing others, okay?
Right.
Hello.
That's why we had how many TV shows about Ted Bundy and people commenting about how cute he was, right? Like, my God. So there's, I think there's just all kinds of really messed up like classism in the thing.
Illinois, and so the reason why I left that one on the table is because I believe Illinois also recently just passed some lit, and so I knew that there's some stuff out there, and there was a whole bunch of misinformation that was put out there, and so I get a chance to like dispel that, because people are like, oh my God, you're just gonna let murderers go. It's like, no, they don't get bail.
Right,
unless they get a parking ticket.
Yeah. It's not the same
like, hold on. It is true, if a murderer steals gum, a victimless crime, really, and is released. Serial killer gets caught with a gram of marijuana, goes to jail for 15 minutes, and is released.
Yes.
You released a serial killer. Okay.
It was pretty amazing, because like in Illinois, they were actually sending out like these newspaper looking, like physical newspaper looking things with fake articles in them. It's kind of like people that are held with second degree murder are going to be let out now if it gets passed. And it's like, oh my God, it was
really, so there's like fairly egregious arguments and things, I think, that end up like, if you're trying to go the obvious route of like, we shouldn't let people out, those arguments I think really fall on their face quickly.
Well, don't you know every drug dealer kills 500 people?
And puppies, actually. Yeah, it's both.
I heard that. The ex-president told me that.
So the cash bail, I think, like zero cash bail as a policy, I think the only thing that I could do if I were actually like in that round on the affirmative, what my actual strategy would be, is that it did not go far enough, that it didn't do enough. Like, so it's when you find yourself the wrong side of it, lean in more aggressively, right? So be like, yeah, it still allowed bail to exist. It was set up as a temporary program.
Defund the police.
It is a Band-Aid on a gaping wound, right? Like it is not it is a stopgap solution to a systemic problem. And all it did was appease people, but it was intentionally set up so that it could be some like roundabout slam dunk for like, see, look at these bad crimes that still happen. And that's why we have to have a bail program. So I would say that it's like, it was set up to fail by nature of having an end date. And so that would be my only real argumentation on it, is like, I agree with everything this person said. It's a bad thing, but this program has done more harm because it has an end date to it. And that would be the only like leg I'd have to stand on.
Oh, okay. Cool. Like you're going to make it into a proper noun type of thing. Oh, we get into a grammar debate. I'm like, it's not capitalized. Sorry, man. No,
I think on the slip of paper, I do believe it was
capitalization is for
fascists. I was like, that's kind of weird. And so I Googled it. Like it is a thing. Like it is a policy in LA.
That is the stupidest topicality argument.
Capitalization. Yes. All right. So I struck cash bail. What does that mean? We're debating today.
Here we go.
Nice.
School choice.
UFOs are real. Nice.
All right. Your AF. What do you say?
The United States federal government should expand school choice.
So I learned some interesting things on this topic from an SCC debater. I watched this resolution and I watched an SC debater talk about it. And one of those issues was that vouchers are given to students in many districts as a way of allowing them a variance. So they can go to a charter school, they can go to like some manner of like private-ish schools and go to magnet schools. And that is via this like voucher related program. There are a lot of different ways that students can change their school, or so the parents can change the school to which their student is sent. But the voucher program is the thing that I would expand. So the vouchers are only like a finite amount of money. They're on average like $7,000, but the cost of some of these magnet and charter and private schools starts around $13,000. So it ends up, it feels like it's a leg up and gives students the ability to like kind of move around and go to whatever school they want, including some like, ritzier schools that have tuition, but it falls short. And so what that does is it ends up only really helping a kind of like upper middle class of student. And it does not help those students that can't afford the other $7,000 or whatever on average. And so what that creates is like,
sounds like a policy to me.
Yeah. So that would be the thing, is I would just expand it to be like full tuition for whatever institution the parent wants to send their student. One, because like, sure, send them wherever. But two, if every student chooses to do that route and like all of them choose to leave, well, that school probably sucked really bad. And like the school needs to look at itself anyways. And maybe you can get into the thing of like, students that have parents that are willing to go through the bureaucracy of paperwork and fill that out. Like maybe there's a little divide there. Like maybe, students that don't have parents, that don't have like the traditional home scenario to go through that paperwork would be left behind. So like there's maybe some avenue there. But I think that I've got some good meat on the affirmative side to say like public schools are, redlining and whatnot makes bad schools worse. And this is a way to break that down. That would be my thesis.
So school choice has been around for quite a while, which means there's data out there, and the
data, but
but outcomes for like school choice have not delivered what they promised. So the actual performance for school choice programs have been about as good or worse than public schools. And so all these things are always theoretical. It's like, well, if people have choice, then they're going to choose good schools. But the schools that they choose, they don't know are going to be shut down in a couple of months because the people there don't know how to run the damn thing, and they're going defunct. And then all of a sudden, a school is just closed with no warning, no whatsoever. And now they are forced to choose where to send their kids because they don't have a school anymore because it's not guaranteed like a public school is, right? And so the outcomes, if you're talking just like, student learning outcomes, they have not delivered at all. Furthermore, you're subsidizing private schools, which tend to be religious schools. They get to increase their tuition, still keep out people because just make it so even with the voucher, you still can't afford it. It does not include transportation usually. Some vouchers do, but not all of them do. And so all the redlining stuff is not uniquely solved by vouchers at all because geography is still a thing. You still have to get people places. It's not like you can choose to send them to Westlake in LA if you live in Florida. It's like you still are limited by where
online classes now.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Maybe.
No, I'm just joking with you, Jared.
I
go to Harvard. I live in San Bernardino. So what do you?
Well, Matt, I think you can probably make the call. I just kind of kicked Jared's ass there. Like he's got nothing.
Oh, I'm not done. I was gonna chime in.
Yeah. Poor guy is grasping at straws
I'll let
here.
the 7 million viewers decide.
No, like school choice is like because like I got drawn.
No, I want to say something. So
that's awesome. Like capitalism will solve, and it's like, oh,
my question would be like a lot of times schools. Well, not a lot of times. Schools are generally paid for. Public schools are generally paid for through property taxes or some sort of geographic location has a tax which pays for the school. So historically, the reason why a school in an area where people aren't paying a lot of taxes because of poverty, say, has a bad school because they're not funded with enough money to take care of themselves. Now, what am I trying to say? I wonder if the plans that people are trying to pass have a plank on it or lend any specifics to that taxation rule because when let's say if it exacerbates that problem that I just mentioned where like people in districts that are not having well-funded schools because of say socioeconomic statuses, things like that, if that school is going to suffer even more through a program like this, well, then I would tend to believe that it's bad. Okay. Now, on the flip side, if like some school is just killing it and some of their students, it's so overpacked or something that students want to start going to some other school and maybe like higher income, higher tax paying people start going to some other school where all of a sudden that it's getting more money. Hey, that could be advantageous. It's kind of what am I saying? I'm saying check out the taxation plank of plan. If they don't have one, maybe call them out on that. Like, well, how is this supposed to even work? And
usually it doesn't
I think
change.
that'd be extra topical because I don't think that would fit into school choice.
Yeah,
maybe like I'm with you there. I think like
I understand how it's
trying
not
to tack
necessarily
at,
about,
but
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're 100% on. Like, I think the bigger issue with school choice is that like redlining has created really garbage systems of education. Like where our schools are ends up dictating quality, and that like kind of furthers wealth gaps and opportunity gaps and whatever. So I think you're 100% on. I think that I'd be pretty extra topical if I passed a plan that addressed that, because that doesn't feel like it's under the purview of school choice.
You got to pay for. Well, you know what? We'll have this debate another time. But I just mean to say, if you are choosing to send your student to some other school, where that money is coming from, the voucher, say, or you know, does it affect the tax systems paying for the schools in the area? Those might be ways to find out or create good or bad plans. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you could make bad schools good maybe through a plan that does, you know, I don't know exactly.
A type of voucher, like back when I was debating that the hot one was called Chubb and Mo, was the last names of these two, and that did include like
there's children here, Jared.
There's it did include like transportation. It was a particular type of voucher or school choice program, and so you're like, yeah, it should expand this school choice program, not just any school choice, not just what everyone wants. Like, this specific one works, and therefore that would beat back a lot of the stuff that I was talking about, which was like transportation not included and everything like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So if you're just kind of if you know a bit about the varieties, and then you just say the USFG is going to focus in on one particular type, and therefore you get to kind of spike out a lot of the stuff that I was talking about.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
All right, everybody. Hey, that is our time. We are Matt, Tim, and Jared. We'll be back next week. What are we talking about next week?
Not current events, popular culture, something ish.
Oh yeah. Hey, you know what? We're talking Home Run Kings.
That's right. Yeah, we are.
Yes, we are. We're going to talk. So brush up on that, guys.
Oh yeah, baseball.
Yeah. All right. All right, everybody. Hey, we'll see you next week. Okay, if you want some baseball talk, see you then.
You stay classy, San Diego.